My name is Margit Schojmár and I will talk a bit about the Prospero registration, what is Prospero and how you can do it, and give some practical tips about that and how to avoid the most frequent mistakes. What is Prospero? Prospero is an international database of prospectively registered systematic reviews in health and social care. This is the only one. And the key features from the review protocol are recorded. You can do that and maintained as a permanent record. So you can search that and you can search that later. Systematic review should be registered at inception. So at the protocol stage, as you can see here, to help avoid unplanned duplication and enable comparison of reported review methods with what was planned in the protocol. So Prospero database, you can find it at this web page, and it contains prospectively registered systematic reviews, and also you should register the protocol of your meta-analysis too. With health-related outcome, it is an open access system, so everybody can freely reach it, register, and search there. And you will hear a presentation after me about the Prisma and the criteria, and it contains that, so you should register before your work prospectively. And why it is important, it promotes and maintains transparency, which is very important, minimizes the risk of bias, or try to minimize, and avoids unnecessary duplications. Okay, so the registration is free of charge. It should be on English. Maybe you can also attach some Hungarian or German or other sources if you want, but basically it is on English. And you will get, after registration, a unique citable registration number that you can put in your article. It contains 40 questions, 22 is mandatory item, and 18 are optional fields. And if you have your data and you already consulted with your junior mentor, with your statistician, and you did the previous work and you have your PICO formulated, for example, then it just takes an hour to fill in that form. The changes, what you do here, you can make and you can update your protocol at any time, but it needs a brief explanation and it will be a public record, so that means that everybody could see that what you did, what changes you did here. Okay, so let's see how it works. So this is the web page, and here you can first, if you have an idea, then first it is advisable to search whether somebody else is already doing that currently or already published that. And here it is an example about leptin. We just searched for leptin and we got 31 records found for leptin. And here you can see the numbers, the title, and the publication status, whether it is already published or it is an ongoing or a completed research. After it, you should join the system. You can click join and you will get the ID and password, and after it you are able to register. Like after login, you just register your review. You have to answer or fill in these questions, at least the mandatory items, and this is just a presentation about practical tips how you should do that. So first, the review title should be given. Give the working title of the review according to your PICO. And the study design has to be included, like meta-analysis or systematic review, what you are planning to do. You can give the original language titles, so a Hungarian title if you want to publish it in Hungarian too. And an anticipated or actual start date should be given, which should be after completion of protocol, but before screening of studies against eligibility criteria, so the actual date is nice. And an anticipated completion date is needed. And as you could already hear, you could do it within 2 weeks, but It is nice if a whole year is given here, so it is usually enough to publish, and then you can finish the project. So just if you give a year, it is good. The stage of review at time of registration, it is a very important point, because at time of the first registration, you are just in the beginning. So here you can see what fields should be checked, and here you can see an example, like preliminary searches could be started and completed. Piloting of the study selection process can be started and completed, and formal screening of search results can be started but not completed. And if you would check that boxes with red, your registration would be rejected. So that's why it is important. So you cannot finish it at time of registration, of course, because it's a prospective database. Okay, so if you continue, you can write your name, the named contact. It is a lead reviewer or representative of the review team, and contact email, and it will be displayed in the public record, and also the contact address or a contact phone number could be given and indicated if you wish. So the organizational affiliation of the review is very important, is highly important. So if you are from the University of Pécs Medical School, please indicate that. University of Pécs is not enough, then write medical school, please, there too. And review team members and their organizational affiliations could be given, and you can change it. You can update it later if you change that, so you don't have to stress about that. Maybe some names will be changed, and it will be displayed on your record like a manuscript style, like in a manuscript. You should give founding sources like sponsoring, managing, initiating, so any individual or organizations financing the study. And please include the identity number here. Okay. And after it, at point 13, you should give the conflict of interest. So example is none known, but if any financial or personal relationships may influence or bias the results, you have to indicate it here, and the name of collaborators after it. And your review question, it is highly important. It can be specific or it can be broad. The question may be framed using your PICO. And for the search, you should consult with your junior mentor before that if you have problems with the search. We heard a nice presentation about this topic. Here the full search strategy is not required, but you should list all sources, all databases, and whether you search in a reference list. So because as you plan to do it, you should indicate the whole. And any restrictions what you have, or if you do not have restrictions, you have to indicate it here. So it's a longer part. You can have here your URL to search strategy if you want to. And after it, the next point is also mandatory. Condition of domain being studies is the C from your PICO. So give a short description of the disease, condition, or healthcare domain being studies. This could include health and well-being outcomes too. Okay, so the example here is type 2 diabetes, but you can also have a healthy group. The participations or population summary give summary criteria. Preferred format includes details of both inclusion and exclusion criteria, and the intervention too, like detailed description is needed. Ideal and intervention should be reported in enough detail that others could reproduce it or assess its applicability to their own setting. So like if you write a manuscript, you are used to that too. And for comparators, details of both inclusion and exclusion criteria is necessary. And the types of studies to be included, examples are case control studies, or if you plan to just to have randomized control trials, just you should indicate it here at this point. And I highlighted for you the most important practical things once again. Exact definition of your PICO and your outcomes is highly important. If your PICO is not clear, it can lead to rejection of your protocol. And as it is a prospective register, it is good if you maintain future tense throughout your sentences. And if you are unsure about your plans, use the phrase, we plan to do this or that, not right, we will do this or that. Okay, and then you should give the outcomes. Here you should give a primary outcome or more primary outcomes and secondary outcomes. So what is a primary outcome? Give the pre-specified most important outcome and how the outcome is defined or measured. And for secondary outcomes, if you have any pre-specified additional outcomes. If you give here none, you can do that, but it's advisable to think first, maybe I plan to have also secondary outcomes, and then you will see it later. But if the outcome is missing, they will reject your registration. Okay, for data extraction, give the procedure, list the data to be extracted, like in your manuscript, as the Prisma says that you should do that. And risk of bias or quality assessment, you should write here that I just use randomized control trials, so I use the Cochrane risk of bias tool, or I use non-randomized studies, so I will have a Newcastle-Ottawa scale, or I don't know it yet, so if I will just have RCTs, I will have this or that in the other case. And after the strategy for data synthesis, here you should consult with your statistician before, because it's a difficult point. Yes, so description of your statistical analysis. So at the time, if you are planning to do that, it's advisable to search the Prospero database with some search terms, and then you will get tips here, and especially from Cochrane reviews and Cochrane registered reviews, you can find good tips also here and for other points too. And analysis of subgroups or subsets. Here you should indicate it like details of categorization if you know that before the results. So it is advisable to write, we plan to do that later because we are interested in do that like in two groups, like in obese people and non-obese people. According to BMI, we want to have subgroups. Okay, so it won't take too long. We have here type and method of review. You should select it from the drop-down list. So examples are meta-analysis or network meta-analysis. You may select more than one category. The language is usually English. You can write here it's not a mandatory field, and the country is usually Hungary. And you can give other registration details you can indicate. Here, your dissemination plans, you should say yes. Here, because yes, we want to publish our research in peer-reviewed journals, and you can just indicate it here. And for keywords, it is also not mandatory, but it is advisable to give words or phrases, specific phrases that best describe your review. So anybody could find that if they are searching, and this helps users to find your review. So I think I would highlight this. It is especially important to give specific keywords. Okay. And for the point 38 is the review status. If it is not ongoing at time of registration, they will reject your registration. Okay. So at time of registration, it should be ongoing. And review status should be updated when the review is completed and when it is published, of course. You will update that, you will indicate that, and then you can go further. You can also attach any other information or link to publication of final report at the end. And if you are ready with filling out this form, it is advisable to save it and send it to your Prospero coordinator. You can find the email, and this is me. at this point. So I will help you, and I will look through it and correct it if I can find any corrections. So please, at least once, consult me before you just submit that. And after consultation, if we discussed what to change or whether it is good that way, then you can submit it and just wait a bit. They say that they will have just within 5 working days after submission, the application forms are checked, but sometimes it is up to 2 weeks. So it is a bit more. And if you primarily register your protocol to Cochrane, then you should not register for Prospero 2, because new Cochrane protocols are automatically uploaded. And here I just indicated you can check Cochrane protocols for good ideas. Changes can be made, but a brief explanation of the reasons should be given, and edits will appear in the public records. So first, plan first, as usually said, and do your best first time, because everybody will see that you changed and why you should change that. Okay, so this was a summary about the Prospero registration and database, and thank you for your attention.